Hitler. And I wouldn't be surprised, in order for him to get his wife to commit suicide with him, that he had to hit her. Defense mode switching to attack mode. And I was watching this video on the Infographics show, the YouTube channel, and they're basically saying, like, what was Hitler's plan if he won? Which I don't really think that's anything that needs to really be, you know, looked at and all this shit. I mean, pretty much anybody with any remote of common sense knows what the fuck he's gonna do. You know, everybody's just freaking... His motives is like worldwide known, especially here in America, where they bring it up every 5 seconds against the Jews and shit about his racist tendencies and blah blah. The part I found interesting was the fact that, you know, he almost won. And I was like, did he almost win? I thought it was just like a shoe, and I thought he was winning at first. Then when he got involved, whooped his ass, and then that was the end of it. But like apparently he almost did win, because I don't know if they taught this in history class, but you know, like most things in school, I think we all just fucking forget and throw it out of our brains and don't give a fuck about half the shit they told us. But to put it a long story short, basically he was basically whooping Europe's ass. He was kind of struggling with Russia because it's very cold over there, and he promised his troops, probably very charismatically, that he was gonna go ahead and just whip the ass. They're like, hey, troops, don't worry, we're all gonna, you know, spend a few minutes, destroy them, and then we're all gonna go home and have a beer. But basically, that's not what happened. They're struggling to win. You know, of course, they're in home turf. They have the home field advantage. They're there in their snowy ass area that they're used to, and they're in the snowy ass area they're not used to, probably not used to the cold, getting frostbite, freezing their nads off. A lot of them are dying of cold and, you know, freezing to death and all that good stuff, or bad stuff. And then so they're struggling or whatever, but they're still pretty much whooping most of Europe's ass and, you know, dominating. And, you know, they kept on the streak they were going, they're eventually going to win, at least most likely. And then the U.S. wanted to get involved, like D. Roosevelt, though, the president at the time of, that was in America. He wanted to go to war and put himself in World War II and try to, you know, combat shit. But the American people at the time were like, hell no. They said, we don't want to get involved in all that World War II shit. They're like, we don't want any involvement in war at all. Stay out of it. Let's chill. Because the last thing the American people wanted was another fucking draft and shit. Losing their kids and husbands and all that shit. So American people were like, fuck that. We're not getting involved in the war. We don't want to get involved in the war. So basically the president couldn't get involved in the war with the nation of people that don't fucking agree with it. The American people that didn't want to get involved. You can't just force a fucking, you know, this is a free country. It's not a communist country. So you can't just be like, we don't give a fuck what you think. We're going to war and you're all going to like it and we're going to do a draft and your bitch is going to go. You know, it's much better to get a country of people that's willing to do some shit, or like feel like, you know, whoever you're going to go to war against is wrong or whatever, compared to being against it. So he just didn't get involved in the war because of that. And we weren't really involved in World War II until, of course, Japan got involved. Japan wanted to go ahead, and Japan was allies with the Germans and stuff for whatever reason. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of that because I don't really know that shit. But they're their allies, and then Japan, for whatever reason, was bored on a Tuesday afternoon and decided, hey, let's go ahead and bomb the fuck out of America. You know the story, they send their ships and just fucking bombed the living shit at Pearl Harbor and did what they did. And just like that, the American people were pissed off, and we had every reason to freaking go to war and enter World War II now. Whereas before, the American people weren't for it, now they are for it. And here's where Hitler fucked up, because Hitler was doing fine in his war or whatever against Europe. You know, he hadn't quite won yet, but he was doing fine, and he would, you know, eventually get there. But the fact of the matter is that he decided, at first, they explained in the video, he did this whole thing where they sent one of their American reporters or whatever to go over there and speak with Hitler in the midst of the war and ask him a whole bunch of questions. And basically, like, the most important question he ended up asking, which is the one that everyone wanted to know, was that, hey, are you coming to America next? And he basically did the smart thing and said, no. He said, well, says, my conquering of Europe is to, you know, unite everybody. You know, the typical horse shit or whatever. You know, I want to unite everybody now under one roof and have one economy and work with the Americans. Pretty much saying I have no beef with the Americans. I don't want to get involved in a war like this, and we want nothing to do with them. My conquering is of Europe and this area has nothing to do with you guys. I have no plans of taking over. And, you know, being his charismatic self, talking in his German language, and basically saying, like, I want no beef with America. What I'm doing over here on this side of the world has nothing to do with you guys, and you American people are smart enough to know that what I'm doing has nothing to do with you guys, has nothing to do with me. Basically, you mind your shit, we mind our shit, we're doing this shit over here. All is good. And then when the whole thing with Japan happened, when Japan won a war against us, and then we had to go to war against them, freaking Hitler decided to freaking wage war on America and said, oh, we're pretty much deciding with Japan and saying, we declare war on America. Which, of course, the American people just dealing with Pearl Harbor, now hearing this from Hitler, is like, oh, hell no, fuck that. So just like that, we entered the war. We assisted Europe, and we ended up fucking up. Ended up helping Europe defeat Hitler and fuck him up, and then him and his wife commit suicide and all that good shit. Or bad shit. And so basically, that's why Hitler lost. If Hitler would have just shut the fuck up, let Japan do what they do, and focus on winning your war, for like, that's where his ego got in the way. Because he could have easily just continued his war against Europe, wait till he's done with them, then once he's done with them, then you attack us. Then you assist Japan in going after us. And if we're fighting two wars, once against Japan and one against, you know, Germany, at the same time, we might have lost. And then next thing you know, Germany takes over and Hitler's numero uno on planet Earth. And all people that look like you and me and most of us in this video, we're all going to die because we're all non-whites. We're blonde hair and blue, beautiful eyes. And we either have to live on the ground, live under, you know, siege, or live under hiding, or pretty much all get killed off to death. And then white people rule the world, all hail Hitler. Yan. But that's what I found more interesting. The fact that he almost won and that he basically screwed himself from winning the war by just being too fucking, you know, too impatient and not waiting to win his own war and then coming after us with Japan. Even though they explained in the video, there's a good chance that just like how we bombed Japan and fucked them up, we would have just sent bombs to the German troops and fucked them up too, and we would have still ended up winning. But it's just, you know, interesting to think about. And that Hitler's ways of being, and how basically he almost won. Because I always thought that it was a fallacy. Like, he never almost even came close to winning. We whooped his ass, and that's the end of it. Just like Japan shit. But it's not like we won every single war on the planet. We lost the Vietnam War. So I was like, if it is possible, if we did with Japan and Germany at the same time, where Germany already took over Europe and is now using those resources to go after us now, that we could have easily lost. It's just a very interesting video. I recommend anybody watch it who even gives a remote shit about American history. Attack Moses, back to the fence. I'm out. Peace.